Welcome to another episode of One of Us Knows What They're Talking About, and the other one is you. I'm Lori Burch, your host. Join us as we discuss and unpack wills, trusts, estate planning, and probate law in a way that's actually informative, interesting, and, well, hopefully entertaining. Because if you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you. Let's dive in. The main topic that we're tackling today is deeds. Deeds. So deeds. Oh, I should have Sarah define deeds. But it's okay, because I think part of your shtick is you don't actually know what I'm talking about.
I don't, and I've been too afraid to ask.
Wait, seriously?
So,
yeah, I don't know what a deed is.
A deed for our purposes in the legal world. Oh, wait. I'm looking at my Duolingo notification. Okay, my hearts are full again. Great. The legal definition is that a deed is a legal document that conveys an interest in real property. Oh, this is good. This is good. I thought this wouldn't be a good topic, but here we are. Sarah, can you tell me the difference between real property and personal property? And is there any other type of property besides real and personal property?
So,
Boy.
I believe
personal property belongs to your person. It is your property.
Okay.
And
I like it. I like it.
Real property is, oh God.
Just go with your heart. I mean, you're going to be wrong no matter what, so it might as well be something.
It's property that is real.
Cop out.
Yeah.
I think she doesn't know.
No, I know, but I was expecting like something more than that. I thought she was gonna say the way you're like is for your person. I was like, oh, she's gonna say that like real property is for your estate. Like
No.
But then yeah.
And are there other types? That's why I'm here, to find out.
Sarah, sometimes I feel like we don't deserve you.
Yeah,
and other times I think you don't deserve us. No, yeah. It's so real property is like land, real estate, oil, mineral interests, all of that. Anything that's not real property is basically personal property. This is one of those things in the law I don't particularly like, but that really is kind of the case. So personal property is even like a car, bank accounts, and your Nickelback collection.
Do you have a Nickelback collection?
I have one shirt.
One shirt? Okay, fine. One way that I've heard this described is property that is not movable. Property that you cannot, like, move about. So anything that's attached to the ground.
So what is a motorhome?
I was gonna say it's like a tiny house that you can move. Does that mean it's personal property?
Technically, those are classified a little bit differently for, like, we've had that issue before with probate, where mobile homes are classified differently than
it depends.
Home with a foundation.
If you're in a mobile home park, you need to know, does it have a legal description or does it have a VIN number? How do you know if your mobile home is real or personal property? Is there a VIN or is there a legal description? That's a starting point.
Interesting.
Hey Sarah, what's a VIN?
The little number for your vehicle.
VIN. What's it stand for?
Isn't it just vehicle identification number?
Yeah. Good job.
Why didn't that come up in our acronyms episode?
It's an everyday one. They needed something silly.
We need a part two.
And not memorable.
Like, what does FBI stand for? What does CSI stand for? What does NCIS stand for? I'm just mentioning all the shows that your parents probably watched.
Siri?
Yeah, she wanted to get in on this.
Hey, Siri.
No, she can't hear you. Only yours will hear you.
Oh, I heard mine. She said, Alexa, are you friends with Siri?
I only know them by reputation.
I only know them by reputation. Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh.
That sounds like some beef.
So deeds are really something that has to do with the conveyance of real property. Conveyance. Do you know what that is, Sarah? By the way, if anybody is like thinking like we're insulting Sarah's intelligence, we are not. It's really twofold. One, she gives the best definitions of things. That's why we do this. Two, she's the only one at Burch Law that has nothing to do with client work, legal production, nothing. Like she's completely removed from any of it. Although I would dare say she knows more substantive law than a lot of other people, not in our firm, but work in other firms or certainly clients. But I don't want anybody to think, well, and third, she's really fun to tease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's threefold. She's good at definitions. She has nothing to do with legal work. And she's like, if we had a Burch Law award, which we should, that's an idea. We should do end of year awards. Sarah would get a lifetime achievement award for being a good sport.
She would.
Because there are people at our firm that could not take a tenth of the teasing that we do of you.
That's fair.
They would quit and say, it's not right for me to be crying on my way home. That's hypothetical. Nobody actually ever said that.
That's never happened.
That's never happened. My point, even though that never happened, but my point, in case it ever did, is you should cry while you're at work because then you're getting paid to cry.
Yeah, do it on the clock.
And and I condone, as an employer, I condone that. I also wonder why anybody thinks they're entitled to not crying on their way home from work. Sarah, have you ever cried on your way home from work?
At this job? No.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think I have. No.
Okay. And it has to be work related. It can't be something going on in your personal life.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Sam, have you ever cried on your way home from work at Burch Law?
Not this job, but my old job, I did quite frequently.
Oh, we know. That's why we like halved your salary offer, because we basically figured you'd pay us to work here.
Yeah.
Don't recall that, but just go with it.
Well, part of what's true, the part that's not true is that's not true about the salary. The part that is true is she was pretty desperate to work for us and to not have the job that she had. It was like twofold. It was like a perfect storm, if you will.
Honestly.
Cynthia, have you ever cried?
It happens every now and then. It's rare. I have to be right at the perfect breaking point, and then it'll happen.
Yeah.
So have you ever cried on your way home from work where it's work related?
Not here.
Okay. All right. See? So
it's a good sign.
Yeah, it's a good sign.
I would say so.
So deeds. So I think if I wanted the general public to know anything, is that one of the biggest mistakes we see with people is that the idea of creating a deed and even getting a deed recorded in the county where the property is located is fairly easy and readily available. But it's not, you really need sound legal advice whether it's something you should do.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think that, oh, I want my kids to go ahead and have this property. Let me just go ahead and deed it to them. And then that means they own it. So you might lose your homestead exemption. If they have any issues, then that's a personal asset of theirs and it's not protected from an asset standpoint. But another thing is, and I don't want to explode Sarah's head, but with inherited property, you get what's called a step up in basis. So if you purchase a home, let's just do a generalization. There's lots of ifs, ands, or buts with this. But if you purchase a home for $100,000, and if you then gift it to somebody and it's worth $300,000 at the time that you gift it, then that's a $200,000 increase in value, and there can be capital gains tax paid on that. If you instead inherit a property that was originally purchased for $100,000, but is worth $300,000 at the time that you inherit it, you get a step up in that basis, meaning your basis is $300,000. And if you turn around and sell it for $300,000, you have no capital gains tax to pay. So something that happened around here, or does happen actually, but happened around here, is there was some property up in this underdeveloped place north of Dallas called Frisco that was like worthless farmland that this guy decided, let me go ahead and just deed it to my kids because they're going to get it anyway. And then by the time he died, there was a tollway running through it. So it was very expensive property. So when they inherited it, even though they didn't inherit it, actually, when he died, I should say, they already had it in their name. And then they had the original value rather than the millions of dollars that it was worth then. And they have all those extra taxes to pay on it. So there's also gift tax. Right. So, I mean, there's a light bulb sort of going on. Don't overdo it, Sarah. I know you don't completely understand what I just said, but that's the point. Is even though there are legal tools that are pretty easy to figure out, and they really are, that is something that you need to understand. Also, there's gift taxes. So are you gifting it? Are you selling it? So the other thing that is somewhat of a no-no is sometimes people, you need to stop Googling, at least for legal stuff. Just stop. Like the quit claim deed, which by the way, it's not a quick claim deed.
Quit.
It's sort of not a thing that exists in Texas. And it's sort of not a thing. Like all these different warranty deeds, general warranty deeds. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen with a property. Are there easements? Are there liens? Are there all these other things? And what that terminology of quitclaim, general warranty, specific warranty deeds have to do whether the person who is giving you the property, whether for gift or by sale, is saying that they will warranty you against any future claims. I mean, like we could talk about adverse possession, or there's actually, if you go to law school, which I really hope none of the three of you do, but part of like the fascinating, like real property is probably one of the more interesting classes to take, frankly, because there's all sorts of things of easements. And then what's the thing where the government can take your property? Eminent domain.
Eminent domain.
And there's adverse possession. So you could just go, and it's kind of that thing that I was reading earlier, which Sarah probably will edit out, but where it talks about squatters' rights, where you basically can go and like take over a property, and there are ways where it can become yours just by existing there. There's another, what are the other things, or easements? Like you really need to make sure when you're purchasing property that you look at the
utility
the
easement.
abstract.
That's one. Yeah.
So you know like what you share with your neighbor and everything, and if you're like going over in their land and everything. So it's actually, while the deeding of it is very, very precise or very easy, getting into real property disputes can be a real issue. Did somebody have something to say before I talk about specific types of deeds?
No,
Okay.
Just one thing I would like to add, kind of unrelated, but related. Going through to get the paralegal certificate that I have, or we did like a whole semester on property law. And whenever you start talking about implied easements, it gets real fun.
Covenant, that's what I was trying to think of. Easements and covenants. We could also talk about fee simple. Sarah? A fee simple estate?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah. It's dumb. So anyway, it's more complicated than you realize, and it's it's easier to screw it up than you realize. So a couple of the types of deeds that we see in Texas that there's lots of discussion about. So the main takeaway is make sure that even if you're not in Texas, make sure that you're consulting with a knowledgeable estate planning and or real estate attorney to guide you through this. But in Texas, we do have something called a transfer on death deed. And those are nice. It's not a one size fits all, but it's a nice thing to add to your toolkit because it does have the ability to avoid probate, where you can go ahead just for a specific property, say, upon my death, this property goes here. And you can actually do a transfer on death deed to a person, to charity, or even to a trust if you have a trust. So if the idea is to avoid probate, that can be a nice way. It's completely revocable. There's nothing that encumbers your home so that you can't sell it during your lifetime, even though title companies will try to claim that. That's why you've got to have a go-to firm on your side. We also have a little thing in Texas called a Ladybird Deed, which not all states have that. Not all states have the transfer on death deed, but a Ladybird Deed, also called an enhanced life estate deed. The primary concept behind this is that a homeowner can basically go ahead and pre-gift their home to somebody upon their death, but they retain the rights to live there during their life, and you can revoke that. And one of the biggest benefits to that is not only avoiding probate, but you can avoid Medicaid from coming and claiming anything from the home upon your death. Yeah, how are we doing? We are joined by our special guest today, Adley Louise Burch Cantor. She asked me earlier if I talk about her on the podcast, and I said, I do a lot. And she said, don't talk about me, talk about you. And I said, well, you're part of me. I don't know how to talk about me without talking about you. And now she's hiding. I don't know what's happening. Okay. So anyway, any other thoughts or input about deeds? That we could go more and more, but I think that gives people a general understanding of some pitfalls and things that they should be looking for.
Just don't do it yourself, people.
Just don't do it yourself. I will add one other little wrinkle for Texas, because it has to do with real property laws, is that Texas doesn't have what's called joint tenancy, or what's called joint tenancy with rights of survivorship. So when a married couple, for example, purchases a home in Texas, even if both names are on it, even if it's during the marriage with community property, we don't have the joint tenancy where if one passes away, it automatically goes to the other. We only have what's called tenants in common, which means it doesn't mean that the surviving spouse is going to get it. Don't freak out on us. It just means you're going to be spending a lot more time and money to do that. So don't do that. Make sure that you have either done a will, a trust, a transfer on death deed, whatever your esteemed estate planning attorney has advised you to do. You're leaving forever? Did you all hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Other thoughts or input on that? So we told Sam and Sarah that the topic today was about deeds. And how did you all interpret this?
We listed some bad deeds to do for or to your coworkers. Because I still don't know what a deed is. So,
are you any closer now?
a little bit, but it's going to take a while.
Or is it just going to take away the nonsense? Because I didn't look at the stuff that you listed in our chat.
Yeah,
Don't.
I just get to be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to have some questions.
Do you want us to rapid fire them and then you ask questions after, or is it going to be where we say we're going to rapid fire?
I really didn't look. So does this lend itself to rapid fire? Does it lend itself to let me ask a question after each one?
I think
rapid fire.
Yeah,
right,
I mean we always try to do rapid fire.
Let's do rapid fire.
So bad deeds you can do for or to your coworkers. Number 1, dead-legging your coworkers.
Ding-dong ditching them at their office door.
Coming into their consult and yelling at them.
eating half of their lunch because they've mentioned that they're really excited for it all week. And you just want to make sure that it's not poison.
Right. Siphoning their gas.
This one's a long one. Exploding confetti in disguise is a completely normal package that they open at the end of a really bad week, which then has a cryptic first note of a 7-hour scavenger hunt to find their keys in the note, written in a dead language, and suddenly their phone is missing and the Wi-Fi isn't working.
At the end of a really bad week. Covering their office completely in wrapping paper, but there's a slight catch. Everything under the wrapping paper is also covered in a lot of fine sand.
And then the last one, cover their car completely in Post-it notes.
Okay, what was the topic again?
Deeds. So these are bad deeds that you can do 2 or 4. These are all like 2.
Yeah, these ended
a
up being all
coworker.
2.
These are all pretty nefarious.
What is dead legging your coworkers?
Like when you go up behind them and you kick them in the back of the knee or something, where they don't ever do that to anybody here, please. Thank you.
I think that would fall under horseplay in the employee handbook.
Horseplay, not harassment.
I like how everything for you is horseplay. There's also a no fighting, which
that's in our handbook.
It is, but I feel like horseplay. You want everything to fall under horseplay.
We're not encouraging these.
No,
and nobody has a doorbell at their office.
No, you just knock.
Well, you can knock.
I guess it's ding dong.
or yell ding dong.
It's
two are the ding dongs.
It should be yeeting.
Pardon?
Yeeting. Yeet.
Just
start doing that
and then run. Yeah.
Yeet.
Please don't.
Okay.
I do like coming to their consults and yelling at them.
Please don't do that.
Siphoning their gas is pretty eating half their lunch. Exploding confetti yeah.
That one wasn't
okay.
That was a team effort.
I just kept building on it from Sarah's original exploding confetti, and she just didn't stop me. So it just kept going.
You know what, Sarah? One day next week, I am going to hide your keys, and we'll see how that goes.
Honestly, she's probably not going to do this until she's.
Please don't make it a 7-hour scavenger hunt.
It was originally 4, but then again, she didn't stop me, so I just raised the time.
I feel like if you know me, you know exactly where I'm going to put them, so it should take you like a few seconds.
All right, so that's an example of good and bad deeds that can or can be done. And good luck, Sarah, editing this one. Thanks for listening. And just to cover all our bases about what you just heard, I'm sorry and you're welcome. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And tell your friends about us. We do webinars and live events. The best way to stay up to date is to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, maybe you have a question you'd like us to answer, or maybe you just want to say hi, hit the link in the show notes or go to burch-law.com/podcast and fill out the contact form.
Much better.
Yeah, I thought that had a lot of energy.